May the words of my lips and the meditations of my heart always be pleasing to you, my protector and redeemer. Amen. Good morning. For those who don't know, I'm a musician. And I once played with another musician who was a fantastic guitar player. I was about 20 years old at the time. And we were playing a song together. And he was very, very good. And I was just playing behind him and watching what he was doing. But then he looked at me. When it came time to do the solo, he wanted me to do it. I could tell by the expression on his face. And I was so nervous. I began thinking, what key is the song in? What's the scale that goes with the key? I'm totally in my head. And I then played the worst guitar solo I ever played in my life. It was so bad, in fact, that he had to end the solo for me. I felt defeated and humiliated. When we were putting up our instruments, I said, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. And he smiles and he puts his arm around me and he says these words, less of that, more of this. In our second reading, Paul is saying, I think he's saying much the same thing. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. In our gospel reading in Mark, Jesus has just met some of his disciples and has recruited them to follow him. And so they follow him to the port town of Capernaum. And in Capernaum, Jesus teaches in the synagogue for the first time in his ministry. And he is, the audience that's there, the congregation that is there is totally amazed. Mark says he spoke with great authority. It's clear that he spoke with much knowledge and much skill. However, something happens in that moment. A man walks in. You could call him an ancient version of a heckler. Mark says that he is possessed with an unclean spirit. And he yells in the synagogue, calling Jesus by name. And not only calling him by name, but referring to him as the Holy One of God. The man is completely upsetting everything Jesus intended to do. But in that moment, Jesus chooses not to puff up, as Paul refers to it. He does not get angry. He does not get flustered. He does not get anxious. But instead, he decides to do the most loving and compassionate thing that he can do in that moment. He heals the man. In this moment, Jesus chose love. And I think for us, we've come across this multiple times every day. People are rude to us. People interrupt us. People question our intellect. people say bad things about us, you could say that they are possessed by an unclean spirit. So when we're faced with that, we are faced with the same question Jesus had that day at the synagogue. Do we puff up because of our pride, our reliance on our knowledge, our defensiveness? Or do we ask ourselves, what is the most loving and compassionate thing I can do in this moment? One is the way of Jesus, the other is the way of the world. Less of that, more of this.